وافانا بحسنه حيانا نور الهدى وافانا.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Imams Corner. Inshallah, today we will be studying the last few verses of Surah An-Nazi'at, Surah number 79. We will start from verse number 40. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأما من خاف مقام ربه ونهى النفس عن الهوى فإن الجنة هي المأوى. But as for him who feared standing before his Lord and restrained himself from impure evil desires and lust, verily paradise will be his abode. Sadaqallahul Azim. Allah has spoken the truth. My dear viewers, these are two qualities that we need to adorn ourselves with, because you and me have been created to end up in paradise. And we need to make the right choices so we can end up in paradise. Allah Almighty very, very beautifully in verse number 40 says, you just need to have two qualities. And these two qualities will open the doors to all good. Number one quality is that always remember the day when you and me are going to stand in front of Allah Almighty. That is a day that no one can escape. Think about it. Allah Almighty, who is alimun bidhati sudur, Allah Almighty that knows everything and sees everything and hears everything, you and me are going to stand in front of Him. So if we remind ourselves of that time, that moment when we stand in front of Allah Almighty, we remind ourselves that that's going to happen, there's no doubt about it, then it will make it that much easier for us to make the right choices in life. Whenever we speak, whenever we say something, whenever we look at something, whenever we do something, we will do in a manner that is pleasing to Him. I would like to share a story, a beautiful story under this part of the verse, that there have been people that used to remember Allah Almighty perpetually. They used to make dhikr throughout the day, dhikr throughout the night. They used to contemplate what they were doing with life, where their life was heading, and ultimately remembering that one day I'm going to stand in front of Allah Almighty. So there was a youngster in the time of Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala an. And Hazrat Umar was very fond of him. He was a very pious boy. He was a very good boy. And I make mention of this story because many a times when we think about the piety of a person, we think that he can never slip. Anyone at any time can slip. But like I said before in the previous lesson, we don't stay in the filth. If we drop in the filth, we stand up, wash and walk away. So there was this youngster, and he was beautiful inside and he was beautiful outside. He was beautiful inside and he was beautiful outside. So Allah had blessed him with beauty. There was a lady that wanted to seduce him. There was a lady that invited him to haram. So this beautiful child, he used to reject the invite. But one day he was weak. He made it in the house of that lady. So she used to invite him to the house. He used to say no, but one fine day he found himself in the house. So whatever weakness, it got the better of him. So he walked into the house of that lady. Now keep in mind, if a person before committing crime remembers Allah Almighty and asks Allah Almighty, grant me the bitterness, grant me the dislike of that evil, of all evil, then when a person finds himself in front of that evil, the assistance of Allah Almighty comes to his aid. Because outside that bubble of haram, he has been asking Allah Almighty to protect. So when will the protection of Allah Almighty come? When he is in that bubble. So he was right there now, and it was the time to commit haram. And suddenly his mind opened up. Allah Almighty allowed him to wake up, and he started to recite the verses or the verse from Surah A'raf that I would like my noble viewers to listen to and ponder over the rich meaning of this verse. Now, Surah A'raf is Surah number 7, and this is verse number 201. Allah Almighty says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا إِذَا مَسَّهُمْ طَائِفٌ مِّنَ الشَّيْطَانِ تَذَكَّرُوا فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْصِرُونَ. Verily, those who are al-muttaqun, pious. And like I said before, piety does not mean that you're not going to slip. So those that are pious, when an evil thought comes to them from Satan, they remember Allah. And indeed, then they see aright. Subhanallah. He started to recite this verse. It just came to his mind that when the shaitan touches you, gets the better of you, got this youngster in that bubble of haram in front of that lady that wanted to seduce him. Tadhakkaru, they remember Allah. How do they remember Allah? Because they remember Allah Almighty before that. They remember Allah Almighty before that. Their tongue is moist with the dhikr of Allah Almighty. Their mind is active with the remembrance of Allah Almighty. Their heart is pumping the name of Allah Almighty. Their body is active in the obedience of Allah Almighty. Subhanallah. All this. But right now, they find themselves right in front of haram. Haram is looking in their face, inviting them. Tadhakkaru, they remember Allah. So what happens? فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْصِرُونَ. The eyes open up. They say, oh, ye main kya kar raha hu? What am I doing? Where am I? So this child was rescued because of the package of obedience that he committed to before this haram. So he woke up to reality and he started to recite this verse repeatedly, and he fainted. He fell to the ground and he fainted. The lady is surprised what's going on. She's perplexed. He wakes up and he keeps repeating that verse. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا إِذَا مَسَّهُمْ طَائِفٌ مِّنَ الشَّيْطَانِ تَذَكَّرُوا فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْصِرُونَ. He keeps reciting this and he dies. Hafiz Imaduddin ibn Kathir in Tafseer ibn Kathir says he dies. So now the family members somehow come to know of this, and they come to know what unfolded in that house and how this child died. وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ. Subhanallah. He most probably thought that, what am I doing here? I'm going to stand in front of Allah Almighty, and Allah Almighty is going to say, "Ye kya kiya tumne? What did you do?" That thought allowed his heart to explode. He died. He died. Now what happens? They bury him at night time. They pray his janazah and bury him. The following day, Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala an, Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala an, he's informed that the youngster that you were very fond of, this what happened last night. This is what happened last night. And he died and we buried him. So Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala an, he immediately with a group of Sahaba went to the grave of this youngster. And Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala an, he recited the verses of Surah Ar-Rahman, Surah number 55, verse number 46. Surah Rahman, Surah number 55, verse number 46. So Hazrat Umar, I would like you to visualize, is standing over the grave of this child. Indeed, the child has made a sacrifice. He has walked away from haram. But what a reward. He gave up the enjoyment of 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 minutes, that's it. The enjoyment of 10 minutes, that is followed by regret. He gave that up. What a reward Allah Almighty gave. Think about it. We are giving up wrong to please Allah. Won't Allah Almighty reward us? So Hazrat Umar stood over the ground, over the grave, and he said, وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ. Verse number 46. But for him who fears the standing before his Lord, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ, there will be 2 gardens for him in paradise. Scholars say 1 garden of gold, 1 garden of silver. 1 garden of gold, one garden of silver. Pause, reflect, visualize you and me being in those gardens where everything is of gold. And then we enter another garden, everything is of silver. What beauty displayed in the first garden, and what beauty on display in the second garden for you and me, as long as we fear Allah Almighty and step away. You know what happened? Hazrat Umar is standing over the grave and he's reciting these verses, and the child responds. And he says that Allah has granted me both Jannats. Allah has granted me both Jannats, the Jannat of gold and the Jannat of silver. So, all brothers and sisters, when reciting this verse that is under discussion, we are going to get many opportunities in life to walk away from haram or to commit haram. You're going to get the opportunity, I'm going to get the opportunity. These stories that are attached to these verses should not just be studied as stories and information, but these stories and these verses should be there to allow us to make the right choice, the same choice that that child made. If Allah can grant him two Jannats, one Jannat of gold and one Jannat of silver, can't Allah Almighty grant you and me? Allah Almighty, we should ask Allah Almighty not to test us. We don't want to be in that position because there is a high probability that we may fail. But if we do find ourselves there, we ask Allah Almighty to protect us before it comes. Always ask Allah Almighty. Don't think that you are better than anyone else. Don't think that you can overpower anyone else. It's all from the tawfiq of Allah Almighty. But every day you say, Ya Allah, whatever sin I have committed, pardon and forgive. And if there's anything that is coming in my way in the future that is going to allow me to walk away or disconnect me from you, Ya Allah, protect me at that time. Protect my iman, protect my yaqeen, protect my a'mal. Always ask Allah Almighty, always be humble. Allah Almighty will grant you and me, inshallah, two Jannats as well. Say to the youngsters, we have this opportunity maybe a few hundred times in a day. You will say, how is that? We're walking outside, there's opportunity to see haram. Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam was seduced by one Zulaykha. There's so many Zulaikhas. And there are so many women that have temptation as well. There are so many men that have temptation to see wrong. At that time, walk away from it. Don't look at the wrong. قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ. Lower your gaze. Adorn your eyes with modesty. Just look down. Think about this verse. Say, Ya Allah, I did not look because you did not want me to look. And Allah Almighty will reward, inshallah, all of us. The next half of the verse, وَنَهَا النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ, and restrain himself from impure evil desires and lust. There are volumes and volumes that have been written upon the second half of this verse. And basically it is known as purification of the heart, purification of the soul, getting the ability, the strength to overpower the invite of lust and desire. So there is a nafs inside that invites us to haram, that encourages us to fall into darkness. Nafs ammara, wa ma ubarri'u nafsi, inna nafsa la ammaratum bisu. Surah Yusuf, verse number 53, the first verse of the 13th juz. Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salatu wassalam, who did not accept the invite of his nafs. When Zulaykha invited him, when Zulaykha tried to seduce him, what does Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam say? وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ. I am not exonerated from the plotting and the planning and the invite of the nafs, because the nafs is bad. It invites us to that which is bad. Now Allah Almighty is saying, control that. Don't allow the nafs to get the better of you. Don't allow the nafs to get the better of you. And that's why the hadith that is very well known to the Muslims, and it is read not once, multiple times, Al-Mujahidu man jahada nafsa. We all make struggle. Inna sa'yakum lashatta. Inna sa'yakum lashatta. In Surah Layl, verse number 4, Surah number 92, verse number 4, Inna sa'yakum lashatta. That everyone has different efforts. Your effort may be different to the effort to the person that is standing beside you. So they are diverse in effort. But the Nabi of Allah says, Al-Mujahidu man jahada nafsa. The greatest effort is the effort against yourself. It is to tame this nafs. And that's why Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala an, he used to say that if a person has tamed his nafs and has controlled his lust and his desire, then his one foot is in this world and the other foot is in Jannah. Because the only thing that is going to prevent us from entering Jannah is accepting the invite of the nafs. Accepting the invite of the nafs ammara. Keep in mind, this nafs that is inside is our true enemy. Its co-worker is the devil. So the enemy outside is the devil. The enemy inside is the nafs. And as we know, that the enemy that is inside the house is more dangerous than the enemy that is outside, because it's with you at all times. So we need to control it. Indeed, we'll speak about a few methods how to control it. But once we control this nafs and we don't accept the invite of it, then our journey to our true final abode, our journey towards Allah Almighty will become that much easy. Allama Busayri, rahimahullah, he is known by Qasida Burda. He makes mention that an-nafs kat-tifl. An-nafs kat-tifl. The nafs is like a child. The nafs is like a child. What does that mean? Children, they are suckled by their mother. And as we know that we suckle our child for 2 years. Close to the end of 2 years, the child has to turn towards food, to turn towards solids. So what does the mother do? She does not suckle him anymore. The child will cry. He will cry all night and all day. And he will basically, by crying, indicate that he wants to be suckled. He wants milk. The mother and the father, they know that right now it's not good that he keep drinking the milk. He needs to move towards a different diet that is more conducive to the betterment of his body. So for 3-4 days, sometimes less, sometimes more, the child will cause havoc in the house, a lot of disturbance. But the parents will not give up, because they're doing this for the betterment of the child. After 3-4 days, the child will start eating willingly. And after a couple of months, you will find that that same child is so comfortable with the solid food now that if you were to put milk in a cup and give it to him, he will dislike it. His taste buds have changed. Yeah? His likes have changed. Something that he was crying for day and night, if you put it in front of him, he's not interested in it now. And something that he was not interested in before, the solid food, now he can't live without it. So what does Allama Busayri, what is Allama Busayri basically saying? He says, an-nafs ka-tifl. This nafs inside is like a child. So right now, it has been introduced to the flavor of haram. And it likes the haram. It invites to haram, those actions that are forbidden, and it has acquired a taste for that haram. Now, how are we going to tame the nafs so we end up on the right side rather than the wrong side? We need to tame it. We're going to make a covenant with ourselves, and we're going to ask Allah Almighty to assist us, that Ya Allah, from today onwards I am going to overpower my nafs by your help. Now this nafs is going to cry. Just like that child, he makes life difficult for mom and dad for a couple of days. This nafs is going to make it very, very hard. And most of the scholars say that this hardship is experienced for about 40 days. So you want to give up anything? If a person is on drugs, or a person is alcoholic, or a person watches pornography, or a person lies, whatever wrong he is doing. So from today onwards, this was accepting the invite of the nafs. So now what he needs to do is, he needs to make a mu'ahada with Allah, with himself, that today, from today onwards, I'm not going to accept this invite. And I'm going to step away. But Ya Allah, I can't do this without your help. Help me. And at the same time, try to create an environment around you, a circle around you that is conducive to fulfilling the covenant that you are making right now. Don't stay with the same party, the same people. Now this nafs is going to really, really push hard. So you break your promise. You break that covenant. Just like the child makes life hard, this nafs is going to make life hard. So what will happen now is that we try to replace the time that we were spending in haram with halal. So let's say we were looking at something that is wrong. Now the nafs inside has become habituated to the taste of wrong looking. So what do we need to do? We need to replace this with good looking. Start looking at things that are permissible, that will make you proud in front of Allah Almighty. Replace the flavor of haram with the flavor of halal. In the start, the nafs won't like it, just like the child didn't like the solid foods. But the more you give it the halal, the less inclination the nafs will have towards haram. And a time will come that once the nafs is completely comfortable with the halal, then if it is exposed to that haram, it will dislike it. That's when we know that we have achieved a level of success. When the tabiyat, the nafs, has no inclination towards that haram. So my dear brothers and sisters, indeed the journey initially will be difficult, but everyone is making some kind of struggle in life. Life is not easy. There are ups and downs in life. If we can make this, or if we can take this step of difficulty for let's say 1 month, 40 days. A lot of people, they do these camps, these fitness camps. They enter these fitness camps. 30, 40 days. Not even 30, 40 days. They do it for about 6 months. No carbs, no this, no that. And all these foods are very, very attractive and very, very enjoyable, very, very tasty. They give them all up for the betterment of the body. Can't we give up and fight the nafs that is inside for 40 days? Try it, 40 days. And you will start to taste the sweetness of halal. And the nafs will be introduced to the flavor of halal. And the bitterness, karwahat, as we say in Urdu, the bitterness of haram will be something that the nafs will repel now. It will not find inclination towards that. Allah Almighty grant you and me the ability to overcome the onslaught, the hamla, the onslaught of the nafs ammara. And I will say this, that always ask Allah Almighty to grant you the ability, grant me the ability to be protected from the onslaught, because it's very, very deceptive. It's very, very cunning. And it is ruthless. It doesn't give up. It keeps inviting. But of course, the invite will become weaker once we stop accepting the invite. And let me draw your attention to something. Many a times we dislike something, but because we have love for it, it becomes that much easier to overcome it. How many of us wake up in the morning? Think about winter. You got a blanket over you, and you're very, very, comfortable in your bed. It's very, very warm, right? And suddenly you have to throw the blanket off and you have to stand up. And it's cold outside. You don't want to go to work, but you do. That work that brings you your tankhah, your wage, forces you to throw the blanket off. It's something that you don't want to do. I'd rather sleep through that time, but I have to wake up because I see some profit. That if I wake up, I work 8 hours a day for 5 days, I'm going to get this. I'm going to get $1,000. And with that $1,000, I'm going to buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. So all that allows me to make that effort at that time. That is against my own personal desire. My personal desire is basically to sleep through. So whenever there's a temptation from the nafs, invite from the nafs, think about what is on the other side. That if I don't accept this temptation, just like the person, he thinks about work, the wage and what he's going to buy with that wage. Likewise, think about it. I don't accept this invite. Allah is going to be happy. Allah is going to give me this. Allah is going to give me this. Allah is going to give me barakah. Allah is going to give me khair in this world and barakah, khair and success on the other side. Then it will become that much easier to suppress the nafs. It will become that much easier to suppress the nafs. And that's why Allah Almighty in the last verse of Surah Ankabut, Surah number 29, verse number 69, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. And basically the meaning of this is that if a person makes a mujahada, effort on the right path, لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ, Allah will guide him. Don't look too much at your own ability. You may think that I'm weak, I can't do this. But Allah is qadir. Qadir mutlaq. Inna Allah ala kulli shayin qadir. Allah Almighty will give us the ability to step away from the nafs ammara. Allah Almighty protect you and me from the onslaught of the nafs ammara. And Allah Almighty allow us to be from فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى. Verily paradise will be his abode. Next verse. يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ السَّاعَةِ أَيَّانَ مُرْسَاهَا فِيمَ أَنْتَ مِنْ ذِكْرَاهَا إِلَى رَبِّكَ مُنْتَهَاهَا إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُنْذِرُ مَنْ يَخْشَاهَا. Translation of verse number 42, 43, 44, 45. They ask you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about the hour. When will be its appointed time? You have no knowledge to say anything about it. To your Lord belongs the term thereof. You, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, are only a warner for those who fear it. In Surah Naba, the previous surah, we made mention that the non-believers, the mushrikun, the polytheists, they always used to ask the Nabi of Allah, when the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to speak about the day of judgment, then when will the day of judgment come? وَيَقُولُونَ مَتَى هَذَا الْوَعْدِ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. As we say, bring it on if you are truthful. So they used to pose this question. Allah Almighty responds to their lame question and says that the time pertaining to the, or let's say the precise time pertaining to the final hour is not known to anyone. Nabi Kareem Muhammad is a nadhir. He's a warner. He can warn you, but he can't tell you the exact time. This knowledge is only with Allah Almighty. This knowledge is only with Allah Almighty. Nabi Kareem Muhammad is a nadhir. Ya ayyuhal muddathir, kum fa'anzir. Kum fa'anzir. That, O Nabi of Allah, stand up, fa'anzir, warn people. Tell them about what is awaiting if you do this. And tell them, because you are Bashir, you bring glad tidings, tell them that if they do this, what I am telling them to do, then this is what is awaiting them. Allah Almighty allow all of us to learn from the instructions of the Quran and the warnings of the Quran, the warnings of Nabi Kareem Muhammad. We have arrived at the last verse, and this is verse number 46. كَأَنَّهُمْ يَوْمَ يَرَوْنَهَا لَمْ يَلْبَثُوا إِلَّا عَشِيَّةً أَوْ ضُحَاهَا. The day they see it, as if they had not tarried, lived in this world, except an afternoon or a morning. Right now they're asking Nabi Kareem Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the atheist of modern time is asking, the person that denies the day of judgment is asking, when will that hour come? When will that day come? Our response is, only Allah knows. Yes, there are signs that basically give us the understanding that it is very, very close by. But the exact time is known to Allah Almighty. But when it happens, they will find out. They will be right there. When the trumpet is blown and they exit their graves, they will know. They will know that this is the day of judgment. Now Allah Almighty says, once it happens, they will feel that the life that they lived in the world, maybe 60 years, maybe 70 years, and nowadays, of course, in Australia, we live in a very long lifespan, 70 years, 80 years, 90 years. They will say that we only stayed in the world an afternoon or a morning. There's another verse in Surah Mu'minun that is very similar to this. I would like to attach that to the current verse that we are studying. And Surah Mu'minun is Surah number 23, verse 112. Allah Almighty says, قَالَ كَمْ لَبِثْتُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ عَدَدَ سِنِينَ قالوا لبثنا يوما أو بعض يوم فاسأل العادين قال إن لبثتم إلا قليلا لو أنكم كنتم تعلمون أفحسبتم أنما خلقناكم عبثا وأنكم إلينا لا ترجعون. Translation of these verses from verse 112. Listen carefully. He, Allah, will say, what number of years did you stay on earth? They will say, we stayed a day or a part of a day. Ask of those who keep account. قَالَ إِن لَبِثْتُمْ, the climax. قَالَ إِن لَبِثْتُمْ, verse 114. He, Allah, will say, you stayed not but a little. قَلِيلًا, the nation at the end of قَلِيلًا, little, very little. You stayed but a little if you had only known. And then Allah Almighty says, أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ, did you think that we had created you in play? Did you think that you were going to live in this world and enjoy this world without paying the rent of obedience and coming to us and succeeding? Did you think that we had created you in play without any purpose? There's a great purpose. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Allah has created us for His service, for His worship, and that you would not be brought back to us. Everyone is going to be brought back to Allah Almighty. And this is what Allah Almighty is saying in the current verse that we are studying, verse 46 of Surah Nazi'at, that the day they see it, you're denying it right now. You mock this topic. You mock the one that speaks about it. But the day when it comes, and they find themselves right there, then they will say that, whoa, where did I live my life and how long did I live? It was very, very short. And we see that even nowadays. I came here in this country in 96, my own experience. And I've been here 25 years in this beautiful country, and it's gone. And you look back and you say, oh, and it's like a faint memory. 25 years gone. That's half the life of many people, or 1/3 of the life of those people that live a good life. And that's how life is going to pass. But when we arrive on the other side and we find that time is not important there, time is insignificant, then it's like an afternoon, an evening. What I say to my brothers and sisters and to myself, can't we show obedience to our Creator one afternoon? One evening. I've said this before, we sleep 8 hours a day, that is 1/3 of our life. We reach the age of maturity, let's say at the age of 15, and we die at the age of 75, there's only a few years. All right? And Allah Almighty has not made everything haram. There's enjoyment in Islam. There's halal enjoyment. And think about it, Allah has given us carnal desires. He didn't say that you have to suppress your carnal desires and you cannot discharge your carnal desires. Allah says, if you find somebody attractive, get married. How beautiful is that? There's always a halal avenue. Resort to the halal avenue. There's always halal fun. Why do we go towards haram fun? There's always halal fun. Recap of what we have studied. Very important verses from verse number 40 right till the end, to verse number 46. Verse number 40, 41, Allah Almighty speaks about the two qualities that we need to adorn ourselves with. And number one is standing in front of Allah Almighty, having fear of that day. I gave the story under this verse of that beautiful child who basically was granted two paradises. وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ, abstaining. I call it rejecting the invite of the nafs. And I made mention that the nafs is like a child. So there will be some difficulty in the start, but the more we remain steadfast in not accepting the invite, the easier it becomes to repel it, and a person starts to develop the taste of halal. And then in verse number 42, Allah Almighty makes mention of the question that these people used to ask regarding the final hour. Allah Almighty says that this knowledge is not given to anyone, not even to Nabi Kareem Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Yes, signs have been given. The Nabi of Allah is a nadhir. And the last verse, I would like you to study the last verse by attaching verse 112 onwards from Surat Mu'minun, Surat number 23. Allah Almighty allow you and me to succeed in this life and do that which is pleasing to Him. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
نور الهدى وفانا بحسنه حيانا. نور الهدى وفانا.